Great. Sit cross-legged or back on the heels. Draw your spine up long. Hang your eye gaze low or close the eyes. Again, welcome yourself to this all levels 60-minute practice. I welcome you to have props, to use props, or not throughout this hour. Physical focus of the practice is to find both a flow and a release through some yen postures throughout. So as you let that focus settle in here, draw your awareness to your breath inside the body. Each inhale, filling from the belly through the ribs to the chest. Each exhale, releasing from the chest through the ribs down to the belly. Throughout this month of January, holding the mantra, witness yourself. And this week, I have been working with turning on that just a bit to witness me through the eyes of someone that I know loves me deeply and doesn't live in my house with me. Can you visualize a person that fits that mold for you? My person is one of my best friends that I connected with in college. And through all of our life stages, we seem to find one another an easy reach out through phone, through text, even though we live hundreds and thousands, perhaps, of miles away from one another. Who is your person witnessing, watching you through this practice with loving full eyes? What do they see? And then turn it back into you. Begin here by nodding your chin down to the chest and then moving your right ear over towards your right shoulder. Nod the chin back to the chest, left ear to left shoulder. Can you relax the shoulders even here? Almost like that friend, loved one had a gentle touch upon your shoulders to say, I got you, relax. And then chin back down to the chest. Lift the head and open the eyes. Come on over to all fours. Feel free to pad your knees if you have an extra blanket. Otherwise, just a nice clear space. And setting the hands under the shoulders, set the knees right underneath the line of your hips and move the spine back and forth in cat and cow. And this week I'm playing with a little bit of a quicker pace in this cat and cow to bring in some warmth. Back and forth through the spine. A little bit more like a pulse at half breath pace. Keep the arms straight if possible here. And really just let the movement come through the spine. Couple more times. And then pause in all fours, neutral spine. Lift the right leg up and back. Flex the foot, point the toes down to the mat. Draw your navel a little more into the spine, lengthening from tailbone towards the right heel. And then extend the left arm out in front of you. I was getting a little ahead of myself. Left arm, right leg. So opposite arm and leg in that bird dog pose. Sustain it, hold it. Lower the left hand, lower the right leg. See the fire already starting to warm and come into you. And then left leg up and back, flex the foot, point the toes down, helping to keep our hips rotated evenly down as well. A little more lift, navel towards spine, lengthen tailbone towards the left heel, and then right hand out. Hold it a little bit longer. And then lower it down, right hand, left knee. Tuck your toes and sit back on those tucked toes. If it feels too intense to be all the way back on your heels, then lift up more towards kneeling. If it's okay, stay low, butt towards the heels. Interlace the hands, flip the palms, and reach to the sky. Good. Just like in bird dog, navel back towards the spine. Sit heavier to the heels. Reach, reach high. Okay, release, come out. Little pat through the feet. Stretch to downward facing dog. Here in downward facing dog, we're going to take a movement, a lift of both heels high and then low, and making that the pulse, high and low, high and low. I think maybe we started this way last week too, if my memory holds. High and low. Sort of pumping that heat right into the body. Just like in cat and cow, try to keep your arms straight here. So we're finding some tension in the muscles, building strength and stability. Couple more times, heels lift and lower, lift and lower. And then take the knees all the way down to the mat, big toes together, press back in child's pose. Right away, lift up to fingertips, lift forearms, elbows, upper arm bones to the sky, and walk both of your hands over towards the right side. Walk towards the 2 or the 3, visualizing a clock face. And walk the hands across the center and on over to your second side. Walk the hands back to the middle. Come up to all fours. Step your right foot forward. Keep both hands to the inside of your foot. And let your hips lean down and forward. Work your right elbow even lower, shoulder lower. So that kind of pins the right knee, the hip a little bit out to the side. And if the knee turns out, make sure your toes turn out as well. And I'm just very gently here, opening, opening, opening. And then bring it back in. More hands on either side of the foot. Feel free to give yourself some lift if you've got blocks handy. Back knee off of the ground into our regular low lunge here. And then back and forth in the legs. Bend and straighten, bend and straighten. Stay with right knee bent in our good old low lunge and take the right hand high in that revolved shape that we're so familiar with. Lovely, and into down dog lunge. Spin the back heel down, walk the hands to the inside. Legs like warrior two. Upper body more like downward facing dog. But keeping the weight in our legs. Come back around to all fours. Swing the right leg back and just shake the hips a little bit from side to side. Here we get to do it all on the second side. Step the left foot forward. Again, both hands to the inside at first. And letting a little bit of weight move down and forward, not worrying so much about securing steadiness in the legs. Your hands can hold some weight. And then that left elbow is going to try to dip down a little bit lower, maybe to your calf, maybe to the thigh. And just give a little nudge out. And again, always keeping the knee and the middle of the toes in line with one another. So if the knee turns out, the foot needs to turn out as well at that same rate. Little nudges. Good, friends. We'll come back around to hands under the floor or blocks on either side of the foot. Lift up the back knee. Lift the left hand high. Lower the left hand and shift the legs forward and back, to or towards straight. Now, my friend that I was thinking of witnessing me, she was always one of my biggest cheerleaders and supporters. And I can imagine herself just watching and being like, yes, 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 that's all so wonderful. Where's your little cheerleader that knows that what you're doing, the movement that you're doing is just right for you? That's the head you want. Lower the back knee down. Come on around to all fours. Shift the hips a little bit from side to side. And into downward facing dog. Bend your knees a lot and walk your hands back to your feet so that you're hanging at the back end of your mat in that forward fold. And I really do mean hang, ragdoll pose. Hold on to your elbows, sway a little bit from side to side. Stay there. Let out a few nice exhale sighs. Good, and then slowly roll up to standing. Once you come to standing, a really slow meditative walk forward to the front end of your yoga mat. One of my favorite simple meditations when I know I'm not quite settled enough to sit, I just walk back and forth on the yoga mat for 5 minutes, feeling heel, ball, toe. Once here at the top end of the mat, mountain pose. Take a couple of deep, soft belly breaths from the belly, through the ribs, to the chest, from the chest, through the ribs, down to the belly. One more time, belly, ribs, chest, chest, ribs, belly. Inhale, lift the arms up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, extend from the hips out to the crown of the head. And then step back to plank. Lower flat down to the yoga mat and peel the chest up for cobra. Do downward facing dog. Look forward to your hands and then make your way to the front end of the mat. Come up halfway. Forward fold. Stand up, arms to the sky. Palms together, center of the chest. Inhale, lift up. Friends, I'm realizing I forgot that down dog lunge. On the second side, we'll get back around to it. Inhale, half lift. Step back to plank. Lower down to the mat. Peel the chest up for cobra. Downward facing dog. Just stay in this flow right now. Look to your hands and travel forward. Half lift, forward fold. Stand up, arms to the sky, palms to the chest. One more round. Really matching movement and breath. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, step back to plank, lower down to your mat. Peel the chest up. Go to downward facing dog. Pause here, breathe here. Let's even ourselves out for that down dog lunge. Step the left foot forward, spin the back heel down, walk the hands out. And then everyone, step both feet to the front of the mat. Half lift. Forward fold. Reach up to the sky, stand up. Palms together, center of the chest. Bend your knees just slightly, tiny little bit, so that you have a little bit more access to the pelvis. Place the hands on your thighs and do a little standing cat and cow here. Pull the chest forward, look up, and then exhale, kind of tuck. Back and forth a couple of times just to feel the body, feel the movement. Okay, and then hands to the hips. Stand up taller, less bend in the knees, but still a little bit. Can you tuck the tailbone and lift the chest? into a standing back bend. Arms go up towards the sky and maybe a little bit back. So I always just have a little bend behind the knees, but a pretty strong tuck of the tailbone down. Okay, exhale, forward fold. Nice and slow, don't rush it. Downward facing dog, step it all the way back. Lift your right leg up into the air, three-legged dog. Bend your knee, open the hip. So point that right knee up towards the sky. And then circle the knee down and around. And it's really the hip here that we're trying to get into our greater mobility and range of motion. Go the opposite direction in that hip circle. Good. We're coming into pigeon right off the bat here. Right knee to the right wrist, heel towards the left hip. Walk the left leg back. Pigeon's often towards the latter end of class. How does it feel here in the front half? Try to keep the torso upright. Hands could go underneath blocks to give you a little bit more ease in keeping the upright position. Try taking the arms up to the sky. If you know you need the extra weight on the hands, keep the hands down. And then sleepy pigeon, fold it over down to the forearms. We'll call this one like a mini yen break. 60 seconds, about 5 to 6 long breaths is what should give you a minute. And if you notice in the 1 minute hold that you take more like 8, 9 rounds of breath, do your best to start to count the inhale, count the length of your exhale, and expand it just a bit. One more breath. Lift the torso back upright. Tuck the back toes. Let's go to plank pose. If you need all fours or dog first to get there, that's fine, but then find the high plank. And hold high plank. Look slightly forward of your hands so that your shoulders and neck aren't having to carry the weight of your head so much. Always that nice strong squeeze in the glutes, tone in the abdomen. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Downward facing dog. Push up and back. Lift your left leg high into the air, three-legged dog. Bend the knee and open the hip. Again, left knee points more up towards the sky, toes closer to the right shoulder. And then circle, knee goes down and around. If you're looking to get the core and upper body a little bit more involved, let yourself kind of sway forward and back with those circles. And you'll find plenty of strengthening coming in. Go the opposite direction as well. And then step the left foot all the way. No, don't step it through. Go to your pigeon pose, sorry. Left knee to the left wrist, heel towards the right hip. Be upright in the spine. As I feel the presence of my friend witnessing the practice, One thing she always challenged me with was to keep creating different habits and changes. Pigeon pose, we know it, but just placing it into a different part of the practice. What do I get from that? Come down to the forearms. That might translate, of course, off of the mat. Do you have a habit that you like but just isn't getting done because you always think it needs to be in the morning and it doesn't happen in the morning? Where can you shift it to? That might provide a little bit more ease, more clarity, more getting it done, whatever that more might be. Lengthen out the breath. Count the inhale, count the exhale. I say 5 or 6 breaths. Maybe you only get in 4. Super adept yogis, maybe it's 3. All right, and then we crawl ourselves back up. Plank pose. Again, finding any in-betweens before you get there, but then high plank on the hands. Knees up. Hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Downward facing dog. Bend the knees a lot. Walk your hands back to your feet. And then heel toe the feet as wide as your yoga mat. Turn the toes to hang off of the mat. Keep the heels on the mat and sit down low into malasana. You're not going to stay here. So rather than sitting on a yoga block, keep your butt higher as needed. Hands out in front of you. Imagine yourself like a frog or a gorilla here. We're going to put a little bit at gorilla, I think is the best visual. Put some weight on the hands to shift feet forward and walk yourself to the front end of your yoga mat in malasana. And then how about trying to walk back? It's a little play in the weight exchange. Lots of asks in the hips and legs, as well as core and some upper body. We're going to do it one more time. Can you walk forward? And I'm taking about 3 to 4 hops in that gorilla squat to get from one end of the mat to the other. Hips can stay higher to make this a bit more doable. Once you land back at the end of the mat, again, have a seat and stretch your legs out in front. Seated forward fold, up and over. Again, switching up a little bit of placement through this practice. How does the seated forward fold feel here versus where you might usually see it right before Shavasana? What do you need to change, alter to be in the experience right here, right now? If you're like me, maybe just wondering, when is the next thing? What is the next thing? The next thing is another breath right here. Can you be with it? And then another, and another. Build your torso back upright, and as you do so, hold on to your right foot and pull it back. Swing the right leg back and forth a few times. Now, seated pigeon pose, I'm just changing my angle for you. Heel goes towards that opposite shoulder, and either wrap hand to knee and foot. We know this, it's under shin or around elbows to knee and foot. Any of those three. Sole the left foot comes now down to the floor. Relax the right ankle onto the thigh and place the hands back behind you so you're in a seated figure 4. Tuck your left heel to the outer right hip and place the right foot onto the ground. Even if the right side of your seat is very lifted, try twisting over the right shoulder and see if that helps sit the right seat down a bit and look over the right shoulder. Untwine yourself, lean back and extend both legs out. Give it a little bit of a shake. So bend the knees and instead of keeping them straight now, and bear hug yourself. Take the arms under the thighs. Keep the belly down onto your thighs as you make your legs straighter. So a little different look at that seated forward fold with support. Feel free to keep more bend in the knees to keep the belly resting right against your thighs. We're trying to stretch our spine here. The first one was a little bit more of a look at stretching the hamstrings, back of the legs. Remove your arms and come upright. Pull the left leg up. Shift a little back and forth. Really nice. Send the heel over towards the right shoulder. And again, you've got those 3 different holds. Hands, forearms, or elbow. Take any of the 3 that work. It switches to that more figure 4, so right foot on the floor. Set the left ankle across the thigh. And then we change to the twist. So you lean a little bit to the right side so you can tuck your right heel against the left hip and set the left foot flat down. Move the weight a little bit more over to the left to help that sit bone release down, and take the right elbow to the outside of the thigh or hug around the shin. Now, of course, usually you'll see me give the option of bottom heel out, bottom leg straight, if I can get my words right. Of course, that's still there for you. And then you'll untwist, unwind. One more time, legs go straight. Lift the arms high. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come back upright. Cross the legs like you're gonna go crisscross applesauce, but shift all the way over to all fours and then to downward facing dog. Get ourselves up to standing for some standing poses. Lift your left leg high, three-legged dog. And step it all the way through to the lunge. Come up to high lunge, arms to the sky. Now, if you were getting pretty settled and feeling good about that low stretch on the mat, how do you amp yourself up for this standing portion? Maybe it's, again, coming back to that reflection of the witness, that friend, just a warm smile helping you know, yeah, you've got this. Little standing, pick up the heart rate some. It'll warm your day. Spin the back heel down, go to warrior two, extend the arms in either direction, look out over the front fingertips. Inner thighs squeeze towards each other as the feet press down and away from one another. Good old side angle pose, elbow to the knee. Feel free to take it lower if you wish. Right arm, top arm, palm down overhead. From there, circle and look down at your left foot. Come back to your low lunge. And we're seeing a second time at pigeon, left knee folds behind the wrist, heel towards the right hip. This one, a very active pigeon. Stay upright, lift, lift, lift through the torso. Adding the quad stretch, you might need to take hands forward, a little bit of weight forward to make it more easeful to find a bend in the back knee. Pull the heel towards you. Any add-ons here that you'd like? Right hand finds the same leg. Pull the heel in. Keep the hand hold or switch to the elbow. Left hand can come up and connect for that mermaid position. Release the quad stretch. Everyone, plank pose. And we'll keep it moving. Lower down to the mat. Cobra, lift the chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. Lift the right leg high, three-legged dog. Step it forward for the lunge. Come up to high lunge. Remember, you're here for a while. Let the face be calm in your steady, strong presence. Warrior two, open it up. Side angle, right elbow to the knee, or fingertips go to ground or a block if you've got it. Left arm palm down overhead. Look at your right big toe and then circle around to a low lunge and change to pigeon. You pull the heel in and then set the knee down. Walk the left leg back behind you so the hips evenly come closer to the mat. Lift the torso. Stay and work there. Maybe a little weight changes forward to add in the bend of the back knee, heel towards the hip. No hands necessary. Maybe it's there. And then again, the options to add any further bind that you'd like. I suggest same hand to leg. Again, keeping with hand or elbow, maybe matching fingertips in the bind. And slow release. Plank pose. Add in the flow down to the mat. Cobra or up dog and into downward facing dog. Look to your hands and travel forward with a walk, a step, or a jump. Half lift. Forward fold. Stand up, reach the arms to the sky. And palms together, center of the chest. Take a breath in. Witness, take notice, and let it go. Moving along, take a nice wide stance, face the side edge of the mat. Turn your feet parallel to one another. Wide-legged forward fold, Prasarita Padottanasana, hands down to the mat. If you usually bend the knees to get your hands down and you have some blocks handy, place blocks under your hands and work on getting the legs straight. Do bring the head down towards the mat, another great use for blocks. If you're working already with straight legs and it's like, how do I get the head all the way down? Give it some extra height. You could place a block underneath the head to hold that gap. You shouldn't have a lot of weight on the head no matter where it is. Keep the weight in the hands and feet. Again, a little mani yen, meaning just 1 minute in the posture versus 3, 4, or 7. And then safely coming all the way back upright, hands to your waist. Feel free to bend the knees to most easily come upright. Take in a breath, let the head even out. Turn your right foot out, extend the arms in either direction. Head over to triangle pose, bring a block with you as you want. Right hand down, left arm up. I'm aiming to be a mirror to you. Lean the shoulders, the head back a little bit so it's easy to turn the head and see the top hand. Inhale, come all the way upright. Switch your stance, switch your block if using it. Hinge and reach as far as you can to the left side. Left hand down, right arm up. It should be the tone and turn in the abdomen, that full opening that allows the shoulders, the head to relax back. So again, you can look up and see the top hand. Inhale, come all the way back upright. Switch the toes one more time, back over towards that first side. But this time that back foot, turn it all the way in so that we're looking back towards the short side of the mat. I'm gonna switch my legs so that I'm like you. Right foot forward, left foot back. Revolve triangle pose, take both hands up to the sky. If you're like me, holding onto a yoga block, hold it in your left hand. So right foot forward, left hand holds your block. Left hand down towards the floor, right hand up to the sky. Revolved triangle pose. Same thing, can you lean shoulders and head back enough that there's clearance for you to turn the head and look up to the top hand? It's a tricky balance, though. Feel free to look down for most ease. Hold strong to come out of this pose. Stand all the way back up, arms to the sky. And then switch over to the second side. So I'm going to step forward to switch legs. You could also do a 180 turn. But left foot forward, right foot back, square the hips and shoulders. Hold on to block if you're using it in the right hand now. We're doing like a sweeping motion today. Right hand down, left arm up. Sometimes we break that down a little bit more. I'm trying to just sweep right on down to twist and turn and look up. And inhale, come all the way back up, arms overhead, torso vertical. And step to the front end of your yoga mat. So if you need to turn around to do that, however works for you. Top end of the mat. And then exhale, forward fold. If you're still working with a block, set it aside. Everyone, downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward to a low lunge. Keep both hands to the inside of your foot. Let's lower the back knee down to set this one up. Remember right at the beginning we took this arms to the inside and tried to work the thigh, the knee out a little bit to the side. Do that little nudging action again. All the work in the hips throughout the practice helping us for this pose. And then I want you to try to dip your right shoulder as far as you can down towards the mat, like maybe your forearm gets to touch. And then keeping that lowness, thread the right arm through, heel toe the right foot more towards the center of the mat. So we're wearing the right knee, right thigh over the right shoulder. Lift up the back knee. You're in that backpack of your right leg. Swing it a little bit forward and back, meaning just pulse your weight forward and back. I've still got 2 feet, 2 hands on the mat. Okay, this gets tricky and maybe not where you were thinking about going, but I want you to put your left knee, your back knee, back down on the mat. And then can you sit down on your butt, which means you got to try to drag that right foot still hugged over your right shoulder until you can sit back on your butt. Good. Both hands maybe trying to hold your foot there. We're so happy we're here. Can we get back to where we were? So kind of like no hands in the beginning. You shift your weight so that your right foot gets down onto the mat. So those gorilla squats were helping us with. And then the hands get down, the foot gets down, and lift the back knee up. Now send the right leg out to the side. Low push-up. And plank pose, swing the leg around to the back. Step the left foot forward to that low lunge, both hands to the inside. Okay, set the back knee down. Nudge the left shoulder lower. knee, foot can turn out in the beginning to get back down into the hip. And then can you go as low as the left forearm to the mat? And here's where it starts to integrate all the pieces together. Heel toe the left toes more towards the midline of your yoga mat. As you do that, scoop the left shoulder under the thigh. And I'm going to lift my hips and shift them back to give me the room to do that. And get the left hand to the outside, the pinky toe side of the foot. Lift up into your lunge. And shift the weight a little bit forward and back, forward and back. This one's all about mobility. So I'm setting the back knee back down and then trying to shift to sit down on my butt while keeping the left leg hooked over the left shoulder. And once you get there, just holding it. Yes. Okay, and then more of a no hands, a little bit more strength core involved, so the hands come out to the side as you try to lean forward. Put the weight onto the left leg and crawl back out into that low lunge with the back knee up. Stay there or swing the left foot still over the upper arm bone out to the side and you're in a low push-up. And then find your way to high plank and to downward facing dog. There's one hard thing left. And I promise one hard thing for each of you, whether your hard thing is slowing down or your hard thing is an arm balance. I've got at least one hard thing left. Say to yourself right now, I can do hard things. Imagine that loved one witnessing over you, wanting you to do the best you can do in this moment. Oftentimes it's not doing the pose, but what's best for you, yeah? Step forward in Malasana. We've been in that little gorilla squat earlier. And then instead of hooking one shoulder, this is like hooking two shoulders. If you lift your butt halfway up, walk the hands through as if you were going to do that gorilla crawl back. But instead, you're going to try to set the hands down with the fingers facing towards your heels for arm pressure pose. We try to sit the butt back down like we're going to Malasana, to our yogi squat. But we end up hooked over the upper arm bones. Try to take your feet off. And then safely, carefully, without hurting yourself, sit down onto your butt and do boat pose. Sit down, fall down, something. And then if your harder thing is relaxing, this is your harder thing. Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, point the knees out to the side and fold over. We're holding Baddha Konasana here for our last yen pose, knowing that you'll be here an extra moment. Feel free to help yourself with your props. Maybe it's blocks like I have under the thighs. Sometimes in this position, I roll up a blanket like a Tootsie Roll on top of the toes and then tuck it under the thighs. Kind of serves the same purpose as the blocks. Another option still, if you have ease in that external rotation in the hips but are looking for Release in the head, neck, and shoulders. Stack the blocks to set your forehead onto. Of course, all can be done without any props at all. Stay there for another minute. And I urge you here, while still in this posture, take notice of what you need next. And next is like the wrap up for our time together in the practice. Is your next one more pose, active, or move into that one more pose, such as Shavasana, in a period of release. If you're lying back and would like to stay there longer, please, you're welcome to. For those wanting to close with me in a seated position, make your way there. Bring that witnessing friend back close to mind. Imagine they were here in the practice all along. Moving, breathing just as you did. Collective energy. And we'll close together in that collective energy. Through the sound of Om, you're welcome to sing along, to listen, to tune it out. 3 chimes, and then that sweet universal sound. I bow in deepest of gratitude to you, each other, this practice. Namaste. Thanks, friends. Bodhi came to say hi. Have a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. Let me know if you have any questions.
You too, Betsy. Thank you. Thank you, Betsy. Have a great day, everybody. See y'all soon.
Good to see everybody.